New videos every day.
Hi, I'm Peter McCarthy. I'm a nationally board certified traditional naturopath, and I'm going to talk to you today about stress, productivity, and the healthcare crisis. Are you stressed at work? So much so that the productivity that you would like to have on a daily basis is negatively impaired? Are you experiencing one of the many stress-related symptoms that come with working in a stressful environment, so much so that you wind up having to take days off from work? Well, if you are, you're in good company, because the U.S. government has shown that over 43 million people in the U.S. workforce say that they have trouble managing their stress load. Think about that for a minute. What does that cost? Well, the American Institute of Stress says that it costs about $300 billion a year in terms of absenteeism, lost productivity, and the loss of valuable workers. And you're going to find out about this and a lot more in my new book, Adrenaline Nation, which will be coming out on Amazon on August 1st. But let's talk about this a little more, so that you'll know what's in it for you when you read Chapter 2, Stress, Productivity, and the Healthcare Crisis. As you might well expect, I connect the dots there between what happens when you experience stress as a result of lost productivity, but also what happens to our healthcare costs and why our healthcare system really can't deliver meaningful stress-related care. Let's just look at a few numbers to give you an idea of what kind of stress load the average American is carrying today. A century ago, the average American experienced about 600 events a day to which they had to react in either thought or deed. Today, that number is 60,000. So we've experienced a 100-fold increase in the number of events with which we have to contend on a daily basis, and which individually and collectively have the potential of causing stress. I mentioned that the American business community loses about $300 billion a year due to various stress-related situations in the American workforce. What does that translate into? Well, it means that between 7 and 9 hospital visits by corporate employees are stress-related. Even more to the point, between 75 and 90% of the visits to family physicians are due to stress-related ailments. And all of that adds up to the fact that over 1 million corporate employees a day miss work due to stress-related ailments. So the cost is getting ever higher. And why is that? Well, when you look at how our society is structured, we have stress built into virtually every component. Everything from the chemicals we use on our bodies, to how we get to and from work, to the environments that we work in, both the buildings, the electromagnetic environment, and the personal relationships that we establish with our coworkers and our superiors, all have the potential of adding incrementally but significantly to that stress. So obviously we're spending a lot of money on stress-related problems, but are we getting that much bang for our buck? Well, the fact of the matter is we're not. When you look at the survey data from the American Psychological Association, that year over year shows that the percentage of American workers who are experiencing stress-related problems is not going down. In fact, it's increasing. It really does beg the question, why are we not making progress? Well, a big reason for that is our healthcare system. Not only from the standpoint of how the monies are spent in the system, but who is providing the treatment for those stress-related ailments. What I mean by that is when you look at the budget for healthcare in this country, which we all know is huge and growing. By the year 2017, it's supposed to consume $1 out of every 5 that we make. You see that we are more and more focusing on chronic and degenerative illnesses. Well, when you look at the data that's provided by the National Health Statistics organizations, you'll see that the leading causes of death from these same ailments are mostly diet and lifestyle related. And the Health and Human Services Department has explicitly recognized the fact that these are all due to personal behaviors. Well, when you look at what those behaviors are, and you correlate them to the stress stack that I described for you in Chapter 1, you can see very clearly that in large part, we're creating our own stress by the foods we eat or don't eat, by our personal health habits, by how we think about the events that we react to in the world, by the toxic influences that either visibly or invisibly impact our body's stress load. All of those things together combine to create these leading cause of death statistics that never change year over year. Cancer is still at the top, heart disease, neurodegenerative disorders, and the list goes on. So why isn't our healthcare community doing more? Well, the answer in one word is education, or lack thereof. As I show you in my book, the top medical schools in the country are ill-equipped to deal with stress-related care, and that's reflected in the low percentage of the curriculums that have anything to do with stress, natural health, nutrition, some of the key foundational elements that are needed to alleviate the stress load on our population. And unfortunately, because of the undue influence that the medical, pharmaceutical, and insurance industries collectively exert on the allocation of tax dollars within our government, that situation is not changing. I called that collective group of organizations the medical pharmaceutical insurance complex. And those of you who are old enough to remember President Dwight D. Eisenhower may remember that in January of 1961, he warned us about the undue influence of the military-industrial complex. Well, I'm drawing a deliberate historical parallel here. The combination of the influence of these three communities and the fiscal allocation decisions that they are able to push through by their collective influence is really creating tremendous dislocation in our healthcare system with regards to its ability to help Americans deal with chronic stress. Well, I talk about all of this and a lot more in Chapter 2 of the book, so I would highly suggest that you take a look at it, pick it up on Amazon or your local bookstore. I think you'll find that it's a good read. You can find out more about me and what I'm doing along with the book at my website of petermmccarthy.com. If you'd like to join our online community, you can do so at adrenaline-nation.com. And if you'd like to receive a free stress assessment, text the word stress, your name, and your email to 58885. That's all for now. I'll see you next time.